Welcome to Business is Sweet. I'm so glad you're here. The first thing you need to know as a baker trying to start and run a business is that it doesn't matter if you never went to pastry school. It doesn't matter if you don't know the first thing about running a business. Starting and growing your own baking business is 100% within your reach. Just like following a recipe to bake a chocolate cake, there is a recipe of ingredients you can follow in order to start and grow a business with confidence, clarity, and control without losing the creative joy that sparked your love for baking in the first place. My name is Brett, and 5 years ago, I took a chance as a stay-at-home mom looking to help carve a financial path forward for her family, and I dove full force into building my own baking business. My baking business provided above and beyond for the needs of my family. I know that business is not about luck. It's about getting out of your own way to try. It's about learning strategy and how to apply it to your business and your unique circumstances as a baker. It's about learning that recipe to success, which includes how to build a business plan, how to fine-tune your products and your production, how to price your products, how to market your business, how to curate an exceptional experience for your customers, and how to manage your finances. And most importantly, how to foster the belief inside yourself that it's even possible so you can take the next step. I've now helped thousands of bakers level up in business, triple their profits, and open new doors of success for themselves, their businesses, and their families. And now it's your turn to bake it happen.
All right, it's time for me to spill all the details about the pop-up shop that I held a few weeks ago. I know you guys have been dying to know what went well, how did it go, how many people came, how much product did I know how to make, and what were the results? Would I do it again? There's lots of questions, and honestly, this is a good moment for me to stop and reflect of what I liked, what I didn't like, what went well, what I would do better next time. And I think that's something that we should always do with every order or every event or project we take on. It's really important to evaluate and analyze how it actually went. And that's how you're able to decide, what are you going to do going forward and what's worth it for your business, as far as not just profit, but also as far as like emotional, energetic output and how you feel afterwards. Because if you don't feel good, I really feel like there's not a point to keep doing it unless you can find a way to feel good about it, because it's the wrong place to be working from. And obviously, there's moments in life where things are hard and where we're able to grow and get strengthened from difficult experiences and doing things that maybe aren't our first choice. But if we're choosing to consistently put ourselves in terrible situations that, like, if we were working for someone, we would quit so fast, that's really a good moment to stop and say, like, wait, why am I still saying yes to this? Why am I still signing myself up for this? And what could I change to make it better? Okay, so let's talk about the pop-up shop. If you have been following me, if you've been listening to the show or following on Instagram and paying attention, then you probably know that 3 years ago I moved to a new town, changed counties, and I'm about 45 minutes away from where I used to live. Went from a very urban, growing, kind of booming area where there's like tons and tons and tons of people. It's just like jam packed, like cities next to cities next to cities. Like, when you go to a big city and you're like, this is LA, but there's actually like 20 cities around it, like, that we call the whole area LA. That's kind of how it was where I was living before, which was Utah Valley, that kind of just blends right into Salt Lake Valley. And there's so many people, which means plenty of customers, plenty of opportunity to grow a business and, like feel like there's plenty of bookings to go around as a baker. And then we moved to a town that is not touching any other towns. It is kind of like the last stop before you head out into rural Utah. And it's much, much smaller. It's a population of about 5 or 6,000. So it's a very, very different kind of market and a very different place to try and run a baking business. And 3 years ago, I decided that even though I had a thriving baking business that was well reputable and branded, and I had a huge portfolio behind me and a resume and photos and a website and everything. I thought, what a fun opportunity to put into practice everything that I've been teaching for the past 6 years as I've sat in classes and taught courses and been a speaker at international events, teaching thousands of bakers how to price, how to market, how to start from nothing and turn it into something that you love, that you feel confident in, that you're making money with, and that you feel like you're in control and that you get to actually love this creative life you're building instead of feeling like it's running you into the ground. I've been teaching that for so long, and I thought, this is the opportunity for me to start from scratch and really prove, like, does this actually work? You know, is it all just talk, or could I do it again? Can I prove that the first time wasn't just luck? And so, despite having so much under my belt already, I did start from ground zero. I didn't use my same Instagram page. I did not use my same website. I put rules in place where I had to make a whole new business plan, a whole new brand and name, get it all registered, and jump through every single hoop. I didn't use any of my old photos, none of them. Completely from ground zero. Within 1 month and maybe a few weeks, about a month and a half, I had already made $1,000, over $1,000 in revenue from the orders that I got in this new town. And very quickly proved that it works. If you can lay the foundation for your business by having a business plan, and this is simple business plan. Like, we're talking, just get some guidelines in place for yourself. Like, be a little bit of a boss to yourself and say, where are your boundaries? What are your policies? You know, who are you trying to reach in your business? Who's your target customer? You lay a couple of those things down, and then you nail down a product. What's the best product to serve these people? And think outside the box of just, this is what I want to make and this is what I love to make. Obviously, that is an important element. But people don't buy because it's what you love to make. People buy things because it's what they need, because it fills an emotional, physical, psychological need that they have. And that is how they choose the products that they're going to buy. That is how they decide if they go to the grocery store and buy a cake or cupcakes from the grocery store, if they search out someone who is a custom high-end baker to do that. So you get your product in place, you figure out your pricing. You have to know what's profitable for you and what to do with that money once it lands in your bank account. It's so much more than just calculating a number. It is mental work on rewriting that subconscious story around money that you have told yourself your whole life. And it is overcoming the ego that steps in to try and protect you from getting hurt, from, bruising your pride if someone doesn't buy, or if someone says no, or if you have a hard time fulfilling the order because it's your first time going. Your ego is what is talking in your head. It's actually ego. It is not humility. It is that part of you that is trying to protect yourself and your name and whatever this kind of character of yourself that you have in your head. But when you really show up and serve in the world and realize that as money flows through you, it actually builds up everybody else that it flows out from you to. And so it's more than just setting a price. It is so much more. It is about doing the mental work. It is about understanding how to manage that money and become a steward of it, to help your business keep growing and to help your family and to put it back into the world, and how to cover those costs. It's all of that. How to market. That was a huge one. Starting in a new town was like, how do I reach people here? Because I have no connections. I don't know a soul. Nobody. We didn't come here because we had friends here. We literally started from nothing. And so it was absolutely back to the bottom of the barrel, trying to figure out, how do I make some connections here, and how do I get my stuff in front of the right people, and then creating an experience for them that was excellent, that exceeded their expectations. And that's something that I'm always working on and always learning and always trying my best. It doesn't mean we don't mess up sometimes, but it means knowing how to professionally and responsibly take ownership of any mistakes we do make, and how to treat the customer in those experiences. And all of this, I put it all into place, step by step by step, following my very own business course. And there you go. Within a month and a half, I had over $1,000 of revenue. So in the past 3 years, after that first initial kind of launch of the experiment, I've kind of let it just kind of lay dormant for a second as I've been still working with my Hobble Creek Cake business up in Utah Valley. I was still taking orders under that name up there, and it's messy. Like, obviously, I've got two different registrations going on and how to split insurance between that. And so finally, I have decided that I'm going to slowly phase out Hobble Creek Cake Co. and rebrand it into Salt Creek Cake, and Salt Creek Cake will now be my kind of flagship bakery brand name, and I'll keep working under that. And it took a few years to kind of get to that conclusion and feel comfortable with it, because I love Hobble Creek Cake. It's like, that's where it started. That was my first kind of baby of a business, and watching it grow was amazing. And it brought everything. It created so much for me, but it's just turning into something new. And then obviously I had a baby in there, and it was a very traumatic birth experience, not for my little guy, but for me. Very, very close to a close call there. And so I've taken the past year to go really slow and to just be at home with my boys, to, say to my husband, like, hey, you've got this. You can take care of our family. Like, and he does, amazing. And to kind of just back off and let him take the reins of that, instead of like trying to meet him there. And it was just a beautiful year of kind of finding our emotional balance again, and healing from everything, and just enjoying time with our little boys. And now I'm 1 year postpartum, and I'm starting to rev up and get excited to jump back into business. My physical body is now able to handle this much better. We're sleeping through the night. Baby's sleeping through the night. He's doing amazing. They're all champs at sleeping, which is, I got to shout out to the Sleep Fairy. The Sleep Fairy is what saved my life. Her little mini book on how to get your newborns and your kids to sleep. Holy crap, that worked miracles. I followed it to the T. I digress. Anyway, so now that we're sleeping through the night, and mentally and physically, I'm in a place where I'm like, I can do this again. I can manage production and also stay on top of, being a mom, and find that harmony between those two parts of my life. And I love to call it harmony, because balance doesn't exist, but this harmony, this interweaving of those parts, I think it's beautiful. So I decided way back in January, like, as I looked at the year and thought, what do I want to do? Which months do I want to be my big months, where I lean into projects and lean into orders, and how much do I want to make? And I made some projections of how I wanted to do this year as I jump back into business. And I really, really fell in love with the idea of having a pop-up shop. And I don't know if that's because I've been seeing them so much on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have been too, but these cute little pop-up shops, a lot of them are on porches or driveways, these little kind of farm stand type things. And I thought that was so cool and so cute, and what a great way to do it. But what I really wanted to do was create a space for people, more than just baking. I wanted people to come into a beautiful space and be excited to like come to a little bakery in the morning. And I decided Mother's Day would be the perfect weekend to do that. That was the kind of weekend where I felt like the women in town and around here would want to come and step into somewhere beautiful, get a treat for themselves, get treats for the women in their lives that they loved, and just have kind of a fun experience. There's not really anything like this in town. And I wanted to make that somewhere where you could sit down if you wanted to. And so from January on, I slowly started to acquire some of the pieces I was going to need to be able to create a pop-up that wasn't just on my front porch, but I was actually going to find a space to put it up. Now, I have a friend in town. After 3 years, I've made so many amazing friends and so many good people that I've built relationships with. And one of them is Amanda, who owns the photo and print shop in town, Livingston Photo and Print. And she is a saint, and I love her. She speaks my language because she's a businesswoman, and we can chat about things that are hard for other people to understand. And I came to her, and she's got attached to her print shop is a photo studio where she does like photo sessions, and it's beautiful. It's got this kind of front window type room that is full of natural light. It is white and bright and beautiful. And that's where she does a lot of her sessions. And then in the back, there's another studio where there's like storage space, and it's honestly this huge kind of little hidden space. And I texted her and I said, Amanda, I would really love to do a pop-up bakery in your photo studio. And she's told me before she rents the space, like it's available because she's only doing photo sessions here and there, and it's not always being used or occupied. And I asked her, how much would you charge me to rent it for the day? And bless her heart, she says, a cupcake. And I said, no, Amanda, what can I pay you to use that space? And she said, seriously, a cupcake. And I said, okay, all right, well, let's go then. And so for a rent of a cupcake, I was able to have this space, which is incredible because a space like that could easily cost $1,000 to rent. When I do my classes up at Orson Gigi in Salt Lake, that cost me $1,000 to rent that kitchen space. So to have someone really literally just let me use their space was just amazing and such a blessing. And one of those times where you feel like the path just kind of opens up for you as you go. And there's more of that. More things happened that was like, oh my gosh, things just fall into place. And I felt like God just put things in my path, and I was able to draw, the resources I need to me. It was incredible. So I got the space booked for Mother's Day weekend, and I start acquiring the pieces I need. On Etsy, I found this collapsible counter. And that was key because I knew that this pop-up space literally had to pop up and then come back down and fit in my garage. And I don't have space for like tables and chairs and a counter and all this stuff. It had to be able to collapse. Everything did, so that it could fit in the tiniest little corner of my garage. So I did a lot of freaking research on this, and I found a collapsible countertop on Etsy that was like custom made. I think I bought it for about 400 something dollars. And it literally goes from flat to popped up as a counter. And it's beautiful, and it's white, and it's wood. And I love it so much. It was perfect. I'll leave the link to it in the description. I don't get any kind of kickback for it. I should, but it was an amazing piece to acquire. And then the real thing that was tricky was figuring out the tables and chairs, because I wanted people to be able to sit if they wanted. I wanted them to enjoy the space. And especially because this is not a one and done. That was also part of my plan, is that this was not just like, oh, I'm going to do this once and hooray. This was, I'm going to do it once and I'm going to learn from it, and then I'm going to make it better the next time. And then I'm going to do it again. And it's going to become like this rare, kind of jewel of an experience that comes up in town. And I'm really excited to make it that. So I wanted to have tables and chairs to make a space for people. But again, they had to be able to fold up. And maybe you do know, it is so hard to find tables that fit your aesthetic, that will fold up and be small enough to be able to pack away, that also fit in some kind of a budget, because wow, tables can be expensive. And I looked into ones where I was like, I could spend a good $400 and get the tables that I wanted. But I came across, and I don't know how I found it. I don't know how I thought of it, but all of a sudden I had this brilliant stroke of an idea to use folding like TV tray tables, like the kind that you would find in someone's house that you just keep by the couch. And I found these really pretty white ones, and they fold up, but when they pop out, they're the perfect little tables for somebody to sit. And I was giddy, and they were so like cost effective. And I got 4 of them, and I found a pack of like 10 folding white chairs for $80. And that was amazing. And so in all, I think I probably spent like $500 to $600 on the pop-up setup itself, knowing that this was not a cost of the event itself. This was like an investment. And how did I pay for that? With the money that I use from managing it, from knowing my finances, from setting aside profits in a savings account, so that when I want to do stuff like this, it's not even a chip off my back. It doesn't cut out of my paycheck. It's money there to be spent in this way to invest and build my business. And that's something that I teach you how to do if you want to learn how to do that. It's in my pricing mastermind course. It's in my business school for bakers course. Like you should learn how to manage it so that you can grow it. So I find everything I need and I've got it already. And now the real task, like I've got a great product. I decided I knew for production, I've got to do something that I can mass produce, but that's beautiful. I really wanted to elevate the packaging around it. I wanted to make it stand out from other desserts that you could get. Around here, crumble is like a huge thing. Like if you go to get a cookie, it's going to be a crumble cookie. There's a crumble in like every city. And there's not one here in my small town. But like people know that. People know about crumble and that's like these giant round cookies have kind of become the thing. And so I wanted to be like, how can I do something very beautiful that I can crank out pretty easily that really is set apart? So I actually did square cookies, big square cookies that were very lightly iced on top. And then I piped really beautiful buttercream flowers on top with like the beautiful colors that I use, something that you're not going to get that anywhere else. And then I did my cake slices that I really leaned into the flavor there. I did my turtle flavor, which is pecans and caramel and salted caramel and chocolate, and just so, so good. It's what I make for my own birthday cake. And I did a Madagascar vanilla with crushed Oreo cookie crumble in the middle. So those are my two flavors and then my cookies. And then I also went out on a little bit of a experiment limb and decided to do some pastries that were Nutella pretzel braided buns and raspberry almond braided buns. And that was fun. I did a lot of experimenting with those and definitely learned much. The raspberry ones did amazing. The Nutella ones were kind of lagging. So next time I'll probably lean more into the raspberry flavor and also work ahead of time. But so that was my menu, was the cookies, the two flavors of cake, and the two flavors of pretzel braided buns is what I guess I'm calling them. Things that I could easily make ahead of time and produce fast. And so I thought that was the plan, because when you're mass producing, you've got to be able to do it very well. And so I kept my menu as slim as I could, but also as unique as I could. So once I nailed on the product, once I had all the pieces in place, I had the space, I had the date, it was time to really, really dig in and start to market it. And I spent 2 months building into this event and getting it out into the community. The first place I started was actually at the Chamber of Commerce. So the Chamber of Commerce, usually every city has one, and it's basically like a club of the business owners in town. And you pay a small fee and you can decide, like, do you want the silver level or the gold level or the platinum level? And the fees go to sponsor like networking events, monthly lunches, or they sponsor events in the community, and it helps advertise and get your business out there. And so I joined on the lowest level of the Chamber of Commerce, but that means I got to go to the lunches every month. And so what do I do when I show up to that first lunch and I get to introduce myself? You can bet that I brought cake. That's my business card. I brought the cutest little packaged individual slices of raspberry chocolate cake with ganache and a fresh raspberry on top. And then like my business sticker and card attached. And I introduced myself and said I brought along a treat, and people loved them. And that was an introduction that they remembered. And even from just that, I had people come up and say, hey, like we're having a company party soon and we're going to have employee appreciation. I had at least 3 or 4 people come up to me as I was at these lunches and brought my treats along. They were like, I want these at our next thing. Like, how much do you charge? And I was like, here's my packages. And they're like, great. And so now we're emailing and we're getting in touch to be able to do those orders. And so just from that, I got orders aside from the pop-up shop. But I started to advertise my pop-up shop with them. And once I've had those connections, then me and my 2 little boys, my third was at school while he was at school during the day, we would drive up and down Main Street and we walked into every business that we could. And we said, hey, either we haven't met you, like my name is Brett and I run Salt Creek Cake, or hi, I met you at the Chamber of Commerce. Like, it's good to see you again. And I would ask if we could put one of our flyers for our event in the window. And the way that I kind of approached this was like, let's see how many times we can be told no today. Because when you make it a game like that, then for some reason it just seems less scary when you can be like, all right, cool, we gotta know, like check check a box for getting a no. But what happened is we got like 20 yeses and one business that said, nah, I'm sorry, we can't. We just have a policy now that we don't do that. And I was like, ah, cool, not a problem. But the majority of businesses let me put something up. And this was key because I think as the digital world has become so prominent, and also like the value of content goes down, especially in a world with AI. And it's like the impactfulness is a lot less than maybe it used to be. And in my town, I also have realized that not everyone's on social media, and it's not really the prominent place to build connections and relationships. Something happens when people see something on social media, but then they also see it in the physical world. It just reinforces this kind of perception of the brand that like, oh, it's a real thing. And then you have them seeing it multiple times. And in marketing, you have to have people see things multiple times before they'll start to trust it and feel good about it and remember it. If you want someone to remember your brand, you've got to hit them with it in lots of different ways and lots of different places, and not just on social media. And so that was a really critical push for marketing my pop-up shop. It was, how can I, push this on social media and get it out there in front of those people, but also bring it into the physical world where they're seeing it at the grocery store, at the hardware store, at the coffee shop. And that was really important for me to have people see it. I also brought in treats to my son's elementary school because I was like, these ladies that are teaching at the school, they're like the second moms in town, and some of them are like a first mom to these kids. And I wanted to show appreciation for them and also like help invite them to the shop. And so I brought in treats one Friday. Of course, I did ask permission. I let them know I'm a licensed bakery, state inspected. I'm an actual business. I'd love to bring in treats on Friday so that the teachers can enjoy them. And I've also got like a little free coupon for a cookie at my shop. And they were like, yeah, sure. And so I brought them in, and the teachers loved them, and they all took a card, and that helped to start get some traction too. So there was a lot of creative outside the box thinking of how to reach people. And anytime I had extras or could get treats out there into the world, I did. I would bring treats to whoever I could, and business cards, and just spreading the word. And then I reached out to my own personal network that I built here and my own friends. And I promise it's not like leveraging these relationships. It's like a group of girls and friends who we work out together on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we have girls' night together, and we share, like, if someone needs an egg, there's like a group text, and you can text and someone will let you borrow an egg, and we babysit for each other. And it's a really amazing community of women and fellow moms and friends that we have. And a lot of it does come down to like the church that we attend. We're all in the same kind of church group together, and but it also doesn't matter if you are or not, everybody's invited. And so that's been like a really beautiful part of building connections here. And I texted each one of my friends individually and was like, hey, I'm doing this pop-up shop. I'm really trying to get the word out, and I know you've got, more reach here than I do. You've been here longer, you have family here. Would you mind sharing my post? Here's the date, here's the address, and then I will definitely give you a free cookie on that day. And I think I had at least 20 friends that I texted individually and asked them to do that. And they were all just so kind. And of course they're amazing women. And they posted it for me, and it really got some good reach, and just from so many different angles and reaching so many different kind of pools of people that I just couldn't get to. And it was really, really awesome. And of course they showed up to support me on the day of, and that was amazing. So for 2 months, I really bunkered down and marketed this like crazy. So then the week comes, and the question is, how much product do I make? And the real answer is like, you don't know. You don't know who's going to show up. You just like talk the heck out of it and hope that people come. I decided the week of, I was like, I need some way to know that people are going to come, and I need to gauge maybe what they're most interested in. And so, like, very last minute, I decided to have some pre-orders because I thought if I could take a few pre-orders, then I can, guarantee that at least a couple people are going to show up to pick up and start to kind of gauge what are people interested? Are they pre-ordering cookies? Are they pre-ordering cake? So I did that, and definitely cake went out. That was what people were most pre-ordering. And at about 12 pre-orders, I shut it down and was like, okay, that's enough pre-orders, because if I take too many pre-orders, I'm not even going to be able to make product for the actual shop. So I closed the pre-orders, had about, oh gosh, I think I had 12 orders. And that really helped me feel out, okay, this is what people like, this is what they're interested in. And now I know at least 12 people are showing up that day. So from that, I tried so hard to make as much cake as I could, and I still didn't make enough. Um, what I ended up basing it off of was thinking about all the reach I'd had in town, and what my goals were. I was like, I want to have 100 people come into the shop. That was kind of like my goal. If I could have 100 people come in. And I thought, okay, what if people will probably buy 1 to 2 things. Like maybe some will buy more, maybe some will just buy one, but maybe 2 things a person. So that's 200 things that I need to make. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to take 200 treats and divide it between like mostly cake if I can, and then some of my buns and my cookies. And also like what was easiest to make, what was easiest to crank out. I think I ended up making more cookies than anything. Because those were the easiest production wise to bake, and then I could have them just frozen in my freezer and popped out when it was time. And I honestly baked for 3 days straight. I stayed up way too late. I watched the entire season 48 of Survivor and put that on thinking that I didn't really care about it and it would just be good background noise. But man, I got into it, and I really had to like watch myself as I was like trying to work but getting sucked into the show. I guess I'm a Survivor fan now. So I did spend a lot of late nights and early mornings, but I tried really hard, even though that's like one of my policies for myself is that I really do not like to stay up late. I'd rather get up a little bit early, but sleep has been so important. My mental ability to like just cope with things tanks if I haven't slept well. And so that I've made that a priority, and I've really, really strove. I've really strived to emphasize that and put priority on it in my production. I will work ahead of time. I will get up in the morning. I will find a babysitter, but I will prioritize my sleep. So for those 3 days, that was hard, but I made sure to try and keep a positive mentality about it. And I tried to remember, like, tell myself, like, I'm excited for this, and that's why I'm staying up. Like, this is something I want to be doing. And so I cranked out as much as I could, and many late nights. And the day of, I was up all night, and I got about 1 hour of sleep. Woke up, finished things, like, threw my hair up into some kind of, like, decent looking bun. And also, because my friend, it was her photo studio that I was booking for a cupcake. I set up like 2 or 3 days before, and I was able to have everything was already where it needed to be, which was incredible. Because if you've ever done a farmer's market or an event, it's like you show up and you've cut an hour to pop that baby up and to get everything in place. And sometimes that ends up being the last part that you have to kind of just sacrifice and get something on the table. But because she had that space that was just open, I was able to go in and set it up a few days early before I was so tired and before it was crunch time. So everything was already in its place. It was cleaned and the counter was up, and my little pop-up bakery cases that I got off of Amazon for like $20. Those were ready. The chairs and tables were ready. There was pictures up. She let me put command strips up to put my wedding cake photos up. And then I put posters in the window because she's a print shop. Amazing. She was able to print me like some really cheap posters to put in the window. And even we used her sandwich board sign And we had that out all week that said, it was this big old sign and it said bakery pop-up shop on Saturday. And that was out all week, like letting people know right on Main Street. They knew about it. And that was one of those elements of like bringing it into the physical world. They were driving past the actual space and seeing it and knowing it was coming and being reminded on their commute every single morning that that was going to happen on Saturday. So the space was already ready and I just needed to get there and put all of the product in place. And so I had bought bakery boxes that I was bringing to the shop and that I was just going to load everything into the cases and also into my new fridge. This is one of those moments where things fell into place that I was like, oh my gosh. Like when you're on the right path and when you're just having that, I really feel like when you bring the right energy into your business and you kind of have the right mindset and you just like lean into it with excitement and fun, like you draw things to you. I don't know how this works, but you really become a magnet for the things that you need because I've seen it happen again and again and again. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this mindset stuff. One day I'm driving down the street a week or two before the pop-up shop and we're just driving back from the grocery store, me and my little boys, and we're right by the print shop. We might have even been coming from there after like looking at the space and we're about half a block away from the shop. And there's this fridge sitting out in front of a house that says free fridge, works great, great garage fridge. And I did a double take and I was like, wait, there's a fridge. This is a free fridge and it's half a block away from my shop. And so I stopped and we went and knocked on the door and I was like, hey, I am interested in your fridge. And the lady was so sweet. Her name was Heather and her husband was Mike. And they were remodeling this little house half a block away from the print shop and just didn't need this fridge anymore because they bought a new one and they were making the house all shiny and new. And she was like, yeah, no, it works perfect. Like, go ahead and take it. And so they pull out a dolly and I'm like, well, I'm actually just taking it right there to the corner where the print shop is. And they're like, cool, we'll help you wheel it down. And they literally just wheel this fridge right down around the corner and into the shop. And we put it in the back, kind of where the prop photo storage is. And Amanda's like, this is a big fridge. I'm like, I know, I will. It's only going to be in here for the weekend and then I'll take it out. And so I had a fridge for my shop. Like, what are the odds? Like, how does that just happen? How do the stars just align like that? And they do. If you believe they're going to and you act as if they're going to, my friend, they do. And when they don't, you find a way to make them align. Like, you are so powerful to be able to make happen the things that you want to happen. And then beautiful signals from the universe just come to give you the little boost you need. And that was just so cool. This fridge was available. So I had a fridge where we were able to put my stuff. And here's the fun part. Here I am thinking I'm going to show up and then wait for customers. I'm going to show up. I'm going to have time to put my stuff in the fridge and in the bakery case and then hopefully wait for people to come at least pick up their orders. When I get there at 10 a.m. on Saturday, May 10th, to my shop, there is a line of people out the door around the corner waiting for me to open up. And I'm like just shocked out of my mind that there's people there and people, not people that I know, not people that ordered from me, just people there to come in to the bakery. And also I'm like frantic because I wasn't expecting that. And here I am pulling up with all my stuff and I'm like, hey everyone, just give me a sec. Like I had no idea you'd all be here so soon. Let me just have a moment to open things up and bring in the product. And as amazing as this community is, they all said, well, let us help you get it inside. And so everybody comes and grabs a box and brings it in and they're so kind and just, I'm like, I felt so much love and just was so grateful to be a part of an amazing community like this. And I honestly barely even had to get anything in the bakery case because they wiped me out so fast. And for like a constant 45 minutes, I had a line inside the shop, out the door, and it was just people, and it was amazing. And people were so excited and had driven from other towns even. They had found out about it and they had come, and I had one group of people and a come with like this couple that's engaged, and they all came together and they got lunch, and then they stopped at the bakery because they're getting married and they wanted to try some cake, and they set up a consultation, like on the spot, paid me $50 to set up a consultation in a few months. And wow, it was amazing. That was just a huge sign to me that, like, okay, I've done something that people really like. And it was so interesting to see what the products were that people wanted to buy. They loved the cookies. They loved the cake. I sold out of the cake faster than anything. So next time, you bet I'm making more cake. And the Nutella pretzel buns were the last thing I had by the end of the day. This is nuts too. You guys. So I sell out and I'm like, I've got nothing, but people are still going to come. I'm supposed to be open until 6. So I put my easel outside the shop and I say, I sold out so fast, but I'm bringing more. Be back at 2 o'clock. And I run home and I start to crank out everything else that I can. I still had cake layers in the freezer. I still had blank cookies, and I bust out, frost and decorate and package everything else that I could. I eat some lunch and take a breather. And then I'm like literally 5 seconds from walking out the door. And this is crazy. My husband yells, "Brett," from up the stairs. And it's like there's the voice where it's like, crap, like someone had a accident. I need your help cleaning it up. Like, oh man. And then there's the voice of like, we're in an emergency right now. And it was the emergency voice. So I run upstairs and he's like, there's a fire behind our house. And I'm like, what? And I run out to the back door. And the moment I open the back door, there's a wall of smoke in my face and I can't even see my fence. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then the smoke kind of blows away and I can see we've got our yard and then there's kind of an empty lot behind us that goes to a street that someday will be like a row of houses behind us. And then the house across that street, the back of their fence is just blazing. Like there's just fire and it's just kind of working its way up the fence line. And the guy who lives at that house, it's this huge house, and the guy who lives there has a hose, and he's on the other side trying to put this out, and there's policemen there already. There's so much smoke, but the fire department's not there yet, and I'm like, how? What am I like? I can't go to my shop right now. Like, we got to do something. We can't. What are we supposed to do? Do we need to leave? And it's a small fire right now, but you never know what fire is going to do. And it's a windy day. And obviously that's how it started in the first place. Somebody was kind of trying to do a controlled burn of weeds, and soon the chicken coop caught fire, and then it blew and started catching fire in the weeds, and it's just moving up the fence. And even though there's a street that separates us, I'm like, all it takes is for it to blow over here. And so in the moment I'm supposed to go back to my shop, we grab the hose and I'm like, come on, let's see if we can reach the hose and help this guy. And our hose doesn't reach. So we get our neighbor's hose and we still can't reach it. And I'm just like, what are we going to do? And then the fire department shows up and they put it out nice and fast. And I'm sure they were like either irritated or like laughing at us trying to like get our little measly hose to do something. But what else can you do? You can't just sit there. I don't know. I could not just sit there. So anyways, fire department shows up. They put out the fire. Things are okay. And I turned to my husband. I'm like, are you guys going to be okay if I go back to the shop now? And he's like, yeah, we're okay. And it took a second to like calm down from that. So the fire's gone. I get in the car, I get to the shop, there's already people in their cars waiting, and I tell them, like, there was a fire behind my house. Can you believe that? And they come in, and the gal who runs the Nephi's farmer market, she comes in. I got to meet her, and we got to talk about having a booth at the farmer's market, and that was really cool to meet her, and then I sell out again. And literally people bought every single last thing. I had zero extras. It was amazing. And as soon as I was done, I'm driving home and I'm boiling hot because I've been on my feet working all day. And literally, I pulled up to this little side street. I'm driving past and there's some sprinklers on watering the grass next to someone's house. And I literally got out and ran through the sprinklers like a kid because I was hot and tired and they looked so nice. And so I ran through the sprinklers and got all wet and was just laughing and like celebrating like a kid. This big long day. And I was able to pop everything back down really fast and then I left all my stuff in the shop until the next Monday when I came and picked it up. Got home to my boys and I was like, let's go. The splash pad opened today. I'm so tired, but let's go play. And I took them up to the splash pad and we got to have a fun evening at the splash pad and got some food. And while my husband was with the baby, put the baby to bed and he got to get some rest and catch his breath. And we spent a few days recovering, maybe a week recovering. And I learned so much doing this. It was funny to me how I set out to create a space for people to sit and stay in, and people really kind of grabbed and went. And maybe in the future, sit and stay will become more of a thing as people start to know like what the pop-up bakery is. But people definitely were like, came in to buy and then like took it back home to try. So that was something that was like, okay, people just kind of want to grab it and go. So that's good to know. And maybe I don't have to stress so much about like the space itself. Although I think it was important to create a vibe, an environment, that felt high end, that felt classy, that felt beautiful. Like for me, that was important. And I think people also felt that too. That's why they wanted to come in even if they didn't stay. So now I've got all my stuff for the future. It's packed into that little corner of my garage, which is like my favorite thing about it. And I've got all of that for the future. I won't have to make that investment again. I've already made back what I spent. So that weekend, I made about $1,600 from the shop. That was the revenue that came in. And obviously some of that was covering the costs. Um, but to be able to say like what I put out came back more than double, that was a really good thing. And especially knowing going into the next time, I won't have to spend $500 on all the supplies. So it's all packed in my garage. I could pop it up easily anytime, and I'm excited for that. I've decided I'm going to do this seasonally. So when there's like a holiday or like a special season with good seasonal flavors, I'm going to pick a weekend and maybe 4 to 5 times a year pop up the shop. And that is how I'm going to do it so that I can still enjoy working from home and not having to run a shop all the time, but also be able to have that part of it when it works for me. And also, I think it creates this rarity, and because like the supply is low, the idea of like this only happens a few times a year, the demand goes up and you can charge more because there's higher demand because it's a rare product that you can't just go like there becomes kind of hype around it. And so that's going to be this intentional part of my pop-up shop is kind of creating the hype and the excitement around this thing that only happens every so often. I have great new respect for anybody who runs a shop because I was so grateful by the end of the day that I was like, I don't have to wake up and bake for this tomorrow. I'm done. Like, I don't have to come back on Monday and do this again. And that would kill me, like having to do it every single day. And so huge, huge respect goes out to the bakers who take the leap into a storefront because that is huge. That's a huge undertaking. And I think it's awesome. Um, Other things I would probably, I would work further ahead of time. I spent a lot of time going back and forth on what do people want and how much am I going to like produce, that I kind of shot myself in the foot and waited too long to start baking and to start getting things ready to go. So in the future, I'm definitely, now that I've already got kind of under my belt an idea of what people loved the most, what was easiest to produce, what took the longest, it always takes 3 hours longer than you think it's going to. I will start producing like a week ahead next time. I will give myself one more week to be baking and getting stuff ready. I will put all my boxes together ahead of time. And because I mean, if it takes a minute to put a box together and you've got 100 boxes, that's well over an hour to put boxes together. So those are just things I'm going to work ahead. And now that I've kind of dug my toes into the marketing, I don't even know if that's a phrase. That's definitely not a phrase. I make up phrases all the time. But now that I've got a presence here in my town and people are starting to really recognize it, and the hype has continued. I did an event where I debuted a specific dessert as a tribute to Juab County, which is where I live, and I called it the cow pie because here, this is like rodeo town. It's the Wild West. People are farmers, they're cowboys, it's like a very Western kind of town. And so, like, we have the Stampede Rodeo that is a huge national qualifying rodeo that comes here. And that's kind of what puts us on the map. And so I have this little cake that I call the cow pie, and it's a cookies and cream chocolate cake that's really good. It comes in a little tin, and so it's really cute, but also kind of looks rustic. And so I debuted that at a food truck event that they had here, and people loved it, and people are still buzzing about it. So it's been cool to watch how being intentional with marketing has really created a buzz around my business, around products. And it's a good product, and also it just feels cool to people. People wanted to buy the sticker. They're like, can I just buy the label on your cow pie? Because they liked that so much that it was like this branded treat specifically for the town. That meant a lot to people, and it was really cool. So going forward, yeah, I think I built the hype and I know how to produce a little bit better now, and I will probably do the pop-up again, maybe probably in the fall. I'm going to do the markets this summer, and I'm going to do the rodeo and sell my cow pies. And then in the fall, when the fall flavors come out, that is when I'll do the pop-up shop again. And then maybe in Christmas time, and then Valentine's Day. And that will be those, that I'll always know that those are coming, and I'll be able to plan my projected profits and production and orders around that. And then, of course, I'm taking orders in between. I've already maxed out my wedding schedule from orders here in town. Just from like doing this push, it's also brought in a lot of orders that I wasn't expecting. And so things have gone amazing. And it goes to show you that when you have the guts to go out there and be real with people and put your product in front of them, like, that builds a lot of trust, and that helps them know you exist. And then when you're also just not afraid anymore, when you've got a plan, and when you're also ready to like adapt and change and kind of go with the flow and learn and take that feedback to grow, you really can do a lot of cool things. And you can take control of this. You can create something that feeds your family, that pays your mortgage, that allows you to be creative and enjoy the things that you do. And it can be such a good thing if you let go of the fear. And so that is the story of my pop-up shop. I will definitely drop links to all the products that I used so that you guys can find them. And if you're ready, like, I want to teach you how to do this. That's why I did it again. That's why I'm building these businesses. It's not just about business. It is about healing yourself so that you can then show up in the world doing the thing that you want to do, what you were made to do. This is self-work. This is about stopping the voices in your head that hold you back so that you can actually live your life the way you want to and fulfill the potential of your own like ideas and your own dreams. That is really what business is about, because then you get paid to do it, and so you can sustain it and you can push it further than you thought it could ever go. That's what this is all about, and that's what I want to help you do. I help you do it inside the Business School for Bakers. And then if that's a big step for you to jump into the business program, you can also join some of my micro courses that walk you through specific things like pricing and marketing and business planning, and just these little small pieces of putting it all together. I love you guys. I think you're doing awesome. And I hope you can feel that you are too, because I remember the days when it was scary. And I remember the days when I had no idea what I was doing. I was there and I totally get that. And I hope that you can see me as like this example of what's possible for you in the future and an evidence that somebody's doing it, someone's done it multiple times, proving that you can do it too. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Brett. You can follow along with me at the Out of Home Baker on Instagram, and I will see you next time on the show.